Yo, Tom Fiddzy here with my review of Book of Boba episode 2, and oh my god, this was a big gasp episode. That reveal, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. The Wookiee was so good. First of all, I was super excited. This episode was just great, but first of all, I was so excited when we had mention of the Hutts and you heard the drums beating, and then he went out on the street and you could see people carrying the litter. And I love that joke as well, where people, it's like such an insult, like, I didn't see your litter arrive. So like condescending, I love that. But you see them walking around the corner, then you see the two Hutts in live action once again in Star Wars. I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed that they were CGI, because I really wanted to see practical effect Hutts. Like, there's been rumours for ages that they were going to be making practical effect Hutts, but what we got was CGI. I guess, helps with the like expression and stuff. But Jabba was a puppet. Maybe they just couldn't figure out how to make it work. Hopefully in the future we will get actual practical effect Hutts once again. But it was so good to see Hutts again. For a second I'm like, are these like Siamese twin Hutts or something? You never saw the sister's arm, but I don't think so. But I was just so happy to see them. Seeing them paraded around the streets, and we got so much lore and stuff in this episode as well, which I'll talk about when we get to the Tusken Raiders stuff. But then all of a sudden, I was so happy to see Hutts, I was smiling. Then all of a sudden, around the corner comes Black Krrsantan. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've only ever read it in the comic books, but a comic book character, a Marvel comic book character, has made it into the live action, and a pretty damn epic one. BK was here. The second I saw him, I did an audible gasp, like, like, oh my god, wow, that is so cool. He looks excellent. He looks comic book accurate, and I cannot wait to see more of him. And they even like touched on his backstory. Boba Fett was just like, talking about gladiators and stuff. Hope for Dr. Aphra in the future, but that was so good, wasn't it? How cool was that? Was not expecting it. That was like as big of a gasp as I did when you first saw Slave One come down in that Mandalorian episode. It was that same level of surprise. Did not see it coming. And this whole episode was just, this is why I don't watch any trailers or anything for like the promos for the episodes. I don't want to be spoiled. The Hutts, Black Krrsantan, BK in the episode, a live action once again. Ithorian, that was a really cool puppet. Really cool to see that. The mayor, and the mayor was a little bit of a red herring as well. It was the Hutts all along, and we're going to get into Hutt stuff. We got the Hutt lore. He was, we had Fennec say, you need to get permission to kill a Hutt, and Boba Fett's going through in his mind like, do I need to get permission? That was a nice little bit of lore, good information. It shows why the Hutts are feared, because they're big slugs that can barely move, apart from Gracchus the Hutt. Oh my god, if we saw Gracchus the Hutt in live action, that would be so cool. But that is because they got so much wealth, so much money, so much fear. You take out a Hutt, they're going to pay every bounty hunter. They're going to get people like Black Krrsantan to go, and Bosk maybe, and all of the others to go and hunt you down. That's why you can't touch the Hutt. That's why you can't just go and kill the Hutts. That's why they're so scary. That's why they're such good villains. I really liked it. So we get all of that stuff. That was hype. And then we get into the flashback stuff. I know a lot of people didn't really like the flashback stuff. In the last episode, I thought it was really strong. I can kind of see why, because you're getting the Hutts, you're getting BK, and then all of a sudden we just cut away to Tusken Raiders. So I can get why that was quite annoying, but I really enjoying the Boba Fett stuff with the bounty hunters. Obviously, we're going to see him develop as the daimyo and like take over Mos Espa. But what we're getting in the flashback is we're getting his character, we're getting his history, we're getting explanations as to why maybe he wants to do that. He saw with the Sand People how the Sand People are being treated. The train goes through their area and they just open the windows and shoot them. All the Tusken Raiders are just defending themselves. They're not even doing anything. They're sitting there eating, they're catching warts. Good to see a wart again. But no, the train comes along and just shoots their banthas and shoots them for no reason. The train could have just gone through, and the Tuskens probably wouldn't have done anything. You know, they didn't have the technology, they don't have the means to go after the train. And as we got in this episode, so a lot of lore with the Tusken Raiders, they're talking about the fact that, you know, this was their home. Tatooine was their home. It was a land of water, and the seas dried up, and the off-worlders came, and they pushed them out. That was really cool, really fascinating. Seeing like the old trees still thriving there. I really like how Boba Fett came from a water world, and now he's on Tatooine, a world where all of the water has gone and dried up. I'm not sure if that was deliberate on purpose or not. Maybe George Lucas had this plan all along, put Boba Fett on Kamino because it's a water world, the most opposite it can be to Tatooine, where we see him later on in the trilogy. But I thought that was really awesome, really cool. My cat is scratching on the door. I'll let you in a second. Just got to do my review. Really hyped. Got to talk about Black Krrsantan. I'm gonna have to let her in. Talking about there is my own. Don't know if you can see my own little BK. Yeah, so we got all that lore. We got him making the gaffy stick and stuff. I'll talk more about that again in a moment. But I really like this flashback because this is where we see him go. This is where we see him kind of stop becoming a bounty hunter, start becoming a leader. He can see you get the respect of the warrior. He gets the respect of the chieftain. He's watching them. He's observing them, and they're watching and they're observing him. And at the end, when you see him dancing after he's made his gaffy stick, what I really like is this kind of his like Mandalorian training. This kind of like his surrogate Mandalorian family. Jango got killed, so he lost that upbringing. Instead, he had an upbringing of bounty hunters. Now he's getting that warrior upbringing. The Tuskens are like the closest he can get now to that Mandalorian heritage, and he's getting it here. And yeah, you can start to understand why he kind of now wants to reform and invest in Mos Espa and Tatooine, and maybe why he wants to get rid of that bounty hunter life, why he wants to improve himself and improve life for others as well. I wonder if when he becomes daimyo, what that's going to mean for the Tusken Raiders. You know, he said to them, you can own the Dune Sea, this is your land. But if he's taken over Mos Espa and everything and trying to become a leader, how's that going to relate? You know, what happened between him and the Tuskens? You know, why did he leave them? Why where are they now? Are they still around? But I really like what he did with the Pikes. The train heist was cool. It was great seeing him train the Tusken Raiders. The warrior was so cool. How cool is that Tusken warrior? Just going through the train, absolute like badass, kicking butt. I thought that's a really cool character. I hope we see a lot more of that character. That's why I'm excited for the backstory. I can't wait for the backstory and the present day. I can't wait for the two to merge, hopefully by the end of the series, and actually see what happens. Is he going to reform Tatooine, not just for himself and for the people, but also for the Tuskens? You know, is he going to try and restore things back to how they were? Is he looking at the Tuskens and their history, and is that reminding him of his own Mandalorian history? As I say, there's so many parallels there, you know, between the two, and it's really, really cool. Sorry, so distracted by my little BK here. The train was great. I wonder how a lot of people will feel about the Tuskens using speeder bikes. I thought maybe there would be like some kind of cultural thing where they're like, no, we don't use them technologies. But then they also use like rifles and stuff, and they got like metal bits. So you know they know how to use technology and stuff. It's just I guess they're just trying to keep their traditions and everything. Keep to their way of life by their time. But I thought maybe we'd get like a little bit of an explanation as to why they don't raid and nick speeder bikes and stuff more often. That very interesting. That maybe obviously they just can't maintain them and stuff once they break down. Whereas the Jawas went the opposite direction. I thought it was interesting. We saw the Jawa eyes when he went to the tree as well, because you know they stole his armor and we got the flashbacks of him. But yeah, I'd like to actually get into a little bit more at some point. Maybe an Obi-Wan can do this, you know. why the Jawas went one route, why the Tuskens went the other. But I'm loving how we're getting so much Tusken lore and they're being fleshed out. They're not savages. They're not savages. They're just people who are trying to survive on their home, and you know it parallels real world things in our own history, and yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and this is why I'm loving The Mandalorian. This is why I'm loving Book of Boba Fett, because it's getting into that stuff. You know, the stuff that just gets passed over, maybe gets expanded in role-playing books, but we're seeing it here in live action, and it is absolutely fascinating. And we're getting great action scenes. The train action scene was so cool. How Boba was acting at the end. And we saw Pikes. It's always great to see Pikes. And they took their mask off, unlike when we saw them in live action in Solo. Here they took their masks off. I'll be honest, I think the Pikes look better in the Clone Wars style. They look a lot, and like in the comics, they look a lot more snake-like. They got the long necks. Here they look a bit more squat, like they got like weird like sacks under their chins that they didn't have. Like maybe it's just these ones in particular, but I don't know. They don't look as cool. They don't look as snake-like as they do in live action. You know, the practical effects are amazing in Book of Boba, but I feel like the Pikes are like probably some of the worst ones. But at least we got to see them with their masks off and stuff, and they are reasonably accurate, so that's fine. You can just imagine them however you want in your head, I guess. But I think I do prefer the Clone Wars look of them. So, you know, there was hits with BK, and then there was a little bit of a negative with how the Pikes look, but better than the ones in Solo where they just look like robots. I'm glad we actually saw their faces, and it's always great to see the Pikes because I love that species. I love the Pikes I love how big they've come in Star Wars and integrated into Spice and everything. So yeah, I'm always happy to see a Pike. They're one of my favourite species. And yeah, overall, as you can tell, big smiles, hype, excited to see more. Want to see a lot more from the Tusken Chieftain, and you know, like I wonder if the Tusken Chieftain at any point is ever fearful that Boba's going to kind of take his place. You know, because he's like going up the ranks. Maybe something happens between the two. Maybe Boba crosses a line that is not in the Tusken ways or something. Maybe the warrior gets killed on a mission or something like that. Very interesting. Looking forward to seeing more of that, you know. And yeah, why hasn't Boba brought the Tuskens in, you know? That's what I really want to find out now. That's what I'm saying. Let's get the two aligned. We know at some point Boba's gonna unite, because we saw it in the trailers. The Trandoshans, the Aquilish, the Nikto, and all the other people. He's gonna have that big meeting with them. And as far as I'm aware, we don't see the Tuskens present. So we did the Sarlacc. How did Boba escape the Sarlacc? Now I want to know, how did Boba, or why did Boba separate from the Tuskens? Yeah, and then decide to go after his armor. And what happened? Did Bib Fortuna send a bunch of people out to kill all of the Tuskens one day when he was away getting, what would they call them? Black melons, I think they got their official name in this one. Maybe Bib Fortuna or somebody else in power came and wiped them all out while Boba Fett was away. Then he came back, he's like, right, no, this is wrong. I'm gonna make some changes. Maybe the Nikto came back and took their revenge, you know. They obviously got a prominent role coming up. We saw their logos sprayed in the first episode. It's a lot of interesting stuff. Any more final thoughts? I loved how talking about the Hutts and their characters and everything, I love how he picked up that like space guinea pig and just like a live animal, and just shows the Hutt characters so well, how they don't care about anyone or anything other than themselves. Picks up this little hamster and is just using it to dab himself. Then he just throws it. I was expecting him to eat. No, he's just using it to wipe off the sweat. What an asshole. That's like in the Clone Wars where they're just wearing those animals as like toupees. I want to see one of them in live action, but I thought that was brilliant. And yeah, what a fantastic episode. This series is beyond my expectations. I can't wait to see what other people say about this. I can't wait to hear Ken Nebsock and Souls Explains reactions to all of the big reveals in this episode, and I already can't wait for the next one. I've been Tom Fiddzy, that down there, if you can see her, is Buttercup, and I'll catch you later. Okay, bye!